Hello guys, good morning. I'm going to be showing you guys how I would make a paper template for our slab vessel project. Starting at the very beginning, you should have a sketch already done of roughly of your idea, what you would like to make. So here is my little sketch. Pretty little, it's a little rough, but I get the idea from the sketch. So once you've done your sketch, I want you to try to place some measurements onto the sketch. You don't have to stick with these measurements, but it's a good place to start. So this sketch, I decided to start with just trying to figure out what size my front panel, like the largest piece of my slab box would be, the base, the body. I took a rough guess and I made, this is actually the template. So I decided to make the width of my box 6 inches across. I decided to make it 6 inches tall and 4.5 inches wide. So shot in the dark, thought that that would be good. Seems like a pretty good size here. I made 4 of these little templates, shapes. I taped them together. This is a big box. I thought that I was going to really like this. This is very large. I'm going to scale it down. So what you guys need to keep in mind, you might have one idea of the size you're going to do. Once it becomes three-dimensional and physical and paper, you're very free to change your mind. So I am going to make the decision to keep the front and back walls the same size, but I'm going to make the sides just a little bit narrower. So I'm going to cut these pieces of paper down and reassemble, and then I'll be back. Okay, before I come back with my smaller sided walls, there's another decision that I needed to make. So when I had it formed, all of the sides were the same, and so the walls slanted outwards like this. Now, at this point, if I wanted my walls to actually stand straight up and down, but I wanted the base to just be narrower, I could make that decision. So I could scrap the idea of having slanted side pieces that hold my front and my back together, and instead I would just have a straight rectangle for the sides. Ooh. Yeah, I think I don't really want it to lean out more this way. Let's find out, we'll see. All right, so I'm going to keep my front and my back panel this shape, and now I'm gonna attach them with these rectangular pieces on the sides. Let's see if we like that shape better. All right, folks, I really like this. I think this is cute. I think this works for me. I like how the walls come down, they're slanted, but from the side, it has just a plain rectangular profile. I think that this is a go. So now I'm ready to move on to my next step. Since I like this shape and I like the size of the base and everything, I'm gonna go ahead and make my base piece. So I'm gonna get a ruler out. I should know what size it is. It shouldn't have changed, but it's always good to just remeasure and make sure, maybe even like write down after you've measured. You need to know the length and the width. So my length here, 4.5, perfect, that's what I thought it was, and this is now 2 1/4. So 4.5 by 2 1/4. And it's important that we make every piece, we need to make every part of our model so that when we have our slabs rolled out, that you can just take that piece of paper, lay it on top of the slab, and cut it out. It really makes the process so much easier. Seems like a little bit of work up front, but I promise you it is worth it. Okay, so here's my 2 1/4. If you guys haven't measured for a while, and done anything like this for a while, I would always recommend, like, when you're doing your measurement. So this was already 4.5 inches, and now I need to measure 2 1/4 up. I like to measure in 2 locations, 2 1/4. So I measured like here, and then I measured down here. You can even do a third if you want to be extra thorough, and then connect those dots, and then you've got a perfectly straight line.
we should have a good set. Let's see. Perfect. Beautiful. I'm going to just tack it in place with a little bit of tape. Alright, excellent. So now my next step is to create the top portion of my box. This is where my lid is going to be, and so it is a similar shape where it gets narrower at the top and it's wider at the sides. It's symmetrical, so I'm going to show you how I would create that shape out of paper. Alright, so I'll start with my measurements, of course. So I got 6 inches still, and I think it would be satisfying if it went from 6 inches to the 4.5 inch mark, and it'll be a little shorter, maybe like 2 inches. But the shape will be, so it's like the same shape or the same width and dimensions, but just scrunched. Okay, so
All right, so when I'm making a symmetrical shape, I start by measuring on my piece of paper. I'll measure the width of the piece. So I made a mark at the 6-inch mark, and then I fold my piece of paper in half so that this edge comes up and lines up with my 6-inch mark. I've gone ahead and drawn a line down here on the side, and then your next measurement and mark that you're going to make is the height, so like this, the height of your piece. So I'm going to hold up my ruler here. I think maybe 2 inches. Yeah, I think a 2-inch tall piece would be great. So we're just gonna try it. If I don't like it, I can always go bigger or whatever, but let's go 2 inches. So I've made my mark here. I'm going to make a second 2-inch mark. Sorry about my awful cameraing skills. And then I'm just gonna connect those lines, just like that. All right, and then cut it out, unfold it, and you should have a square that is 6 inches wide by 2 inches tall. But what I haven't done yet is created my tapered at the top. So let's taper the edges. Remember, taper means to get narrower.
All right, so like I said, I want my base of this shape to be 6 inches, so I'm gonna leave it alone, but then I want the top part of my shape to be 4.5. So, and my piece of paper is folded, so I need to cut that 4.5, cut 4.5 in half. So I'm gonna measure 2 1/4 across the top. And then I'm just gonna make a mark. So there's my 2 1/4 mark. And then my next step is to connect this line from the 2 in the corner. Just like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. Shoop, snip that line, unfold, and now I have, oh, beautiful, perfect, symmetrical template piece.
Once I've got my first one done, I just trace it onto my paper and then cut it out. Ta-da! I'll show you guys my taping trick. So I like to put just my piece of tape, whoopsies, onto my template, and then I'm gonna line up my edge. I'll line up these 2 pieces of paper, and I'm just gonna fold my piece of tape over, and then, well, that looks a little bit crooked, but then that should be nice. It normally is nice and tight, nice lined up. Let me try it again. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. There we go. Close enough. Let's do the other. All right, so I went ahead and I put my little spacers here, 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 square. My walls don't lean in anymore. It looks a little bit like a coffin, but I like it. I think the shape is really cool. So now my last and final step is to make my my lid piece. The measurements are gonna be 2 1/4 by 4.5, so I'm just gonna make that rectangle. All right, so I've got my rectangle here. Takeaways for this project. Double check your measurements. Always just do a second measure and just make sure that you're measuring correctly and accurately, because even just the littlest mistake on measuring will cause your walls to not be straight or to not line up and cause you that headache later on. We want this to look, well, it is well planned. It's a well planned project. We want it to look super neat and tidy. We want there to be great craftsmanship. But it starts with measuring. Alrighty, so don't be worried if you don't tape it perfectly. Like, I'm quite satisfied with how this is because I know that all my measurements are exact. So right now there's gaps, but that's only because of my poor taping skills or my quick taping skills. Alrighty, from here, once you've gotten this constructed, I would label all of the parts. So perhaps you could even untape it or do this later, but you can just loosen or roughly right on here gently. So I would have this is front piece 1, and then this is like front lid 1. You could even just number your pieces. It'll be good for you to know how many pieces that your whole box will have in need, so that when you're making, you can just quickly count, say, oh, I've got 8, okay, 8, I had 8 sides, I'm good to go. So based on that, my design changed, and this wall is not, the lid doesn't slant in anymore. I'm going to just connect these two, so this is gonna become one slab. So when I'm doing my count, I'm gonna just count this as 1 because I'm gonna cut it out of 1 piece of clay. I'm gonna ignore this seam. So 1, I'm counting sides right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll have 8 individual slabs. Let's just do that again, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, yeah, 8.